Does the spray foam industry need some form of regulation?
I am very cautious about, the terminology regulation and legislation and things like this. But the number of problems in scale to the total work being done are still very, very small.
Welcome to Foam to Fortune, the ultimate podcast for spray foam insulation industry. Whether you're a contractor aiming to take your business to the next level or a vendor bringing innovation to the market, this is the place where success stories are shared, insider tips are uncovered, and the industry secrets are revealed. Join us as we dive into the journeys of the spray foam pros who turn their dreams into thriving empires and discover tools and strategies to build your own path to fortune. Ready to elevate your spray foam game? Let's get started. Foam to Fortune, where innovation meets inspiration.
What's up, everybody? My name is Spencer. I'm the host of the Foam to Fortune podcast, and I have an amazing guest tonight, Robert Naini. He is an industry expert. I'm sure you guys have seen him speaking at the SPFA conventions. He's a board member and also the owner of a company called SprayFoamAdvisor.com. What's up, Robert?
I'm doing great, Spencer. How are you doing, bud?
I'm doing great as well. So that everybody knows exactly who we are interviewing today, can you give a little bit of a background about who you are and how long you've been in the industry?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a trainer and consultant focusing on the spray foam industry, but I started in this industry more than 20 years ago. Got an undergrad in mechanical engineering, a master's in business, and just accidentally got a job with a spray foam insulation manufacturer. A little company back in 2004 named Demilec is where I started. And I started there as an engineering intern. After a couple years, I went into sales. I covered the state of Florida as my sales territory. After a couple years in sales, I ended up moving back to Texas and working at the home office in kind of a technical marketing capacity. I worked with architects and code officials and builders all across the country doing presentations and driving specifications, and eventually became director of engineering, where I had a team of 5, and we did product testing and documentation and specifications and substitutions and energy analysis. And we wrote all the technical letters and did all of the product evaluations and took all the products to the labs to get tested, and all of the code compliance all ran through my office and my team. After that, I became chief operations officer for the company. I worked directly with my mentor, Dave Lall, and I absolutely loved what I did. And he eventually sold the company. Him and his partner sold the company in 2013 to a private equity firm. And I was on board for about a year with that private equity firm and helped them onboard their entire executive team. And then eventually they kind of gave me a pink slip, and I kind of exited out of that company and tried to figure out what I was going to do next. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I started Spray Foam Advisor. And a lot of that kind of was out of a development from my own journey at the time, a lot of reading, a lot of personal development, a lot of kind of education that I did on my own. I had this concept that just kind of came to me during that time frame where I kind of viewed myself as the CEO of me. And even though I was an employee, I was still responsible for what I did in my business as a person and how I chose to live life. And I realized that as the CEO of me, being an employee, I had one customer and one product, and I sold all of my time to my employer. And once they decided they didn't want to buy any more of that product, my revenue went to zero. Yeah. And I thought, wow, this is not a great business model. I want to figure something else out. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And so I came up with Spray Foam Advisor, a way to create a knowledge base, create a resource for the spray foam industry, and be able to capture my knowledge and my background and my trainings in a digital format, where I have hundreds of videos online for training and education resources for my members. And then I expanded that into helping with business management, business consulting directly for spray foam contractors, and I run a spray foam mastermind group as a contractor discussion group for my members to be able to talk about spray foam with each other and the challenges that they're experiencing in their own businesses. Error was made at some point. And that typically comes from a standpoint of not positioning the value or differentiation that you offer in this scenario, in this situation, properly. So, one way to look at it is that a builder, they can get the job done quickly. They can get the job done right. They can get the job done cheap. You can't give them all three. If you try to give them all three, you're going to lose money.
Yeah.
You can give them 2 out of the 3 in most situations. So you position it to the builder. If you want the cheapest price, do you want me to do it? Do you want to give up speed or do you want to give up quality? Where are you flexible? Most of them, they don't want to give up from a builder standpoint. They don't want to give up either of these because speed and quality is what they have to have. Quality is all about getting no callbacks. Speed, the faster they turn the properties, the faster they make money.
Yeah.
All of the trades are constantly telling builders that they're behind schedule. You need to figure out how to be the solution to speeding up their schedule and not slowing down their schedule. If you can provide tangible benefits to the builder, price won't be the focus of the conversation. Other people will try to make price the focus of the conversation, but you have to establish differentiation. Why are they down here? Why are you up here? Is this value, is this gap important to the builder? If you're talking about energy efficiency and you're talking about tightness of the envelope and you're talking about a lot of these buzzwords that are used in sales pitches, these are all values and benefits for the end user, not the builder. So talking to the builder, you have to use different language. You have to focus your sales language to the builder's needs, wants, and desires. And that's going to be around effectiveness, speed, and the quality of the product so they don't get callbacks, so they don't have problems with their building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of times maybe it's just a lack of education on the contractor side on how do we tackle this? How do we, how do we approach it? Because, I always hear guys like, this guys just showed up in this, in the, a new rig, and I've never even heard of these guys. And now I'm seeing these bids that are going out there. They're super cheap. And it's almost like it's so overwhelming that they don't even know, like, how do I improve myself? How do I provide more value up front so that person can see, like, okay, this is some guy that's got 6 weeks of knowledge versus a guy that's got, 20 years of knowledge. And this guy that's got 6 weeks of knowledge might screw my house up. And the guy that, I guess both could possibly, but your chances are a lot better with somebody that's been doing this for a long time.
Right. Well, and then it compounds on itself, right? So if you're talking to a builder, you have to kind of focus on what they care about. But if you're talking to a homeowner, you have to change the conversation, right? What happens in the industry is somebody gives a price, and then somebody wants to win that job. Whoever's doing their work has a regular price that they give, and somebody comes in to win that price or win that job, and they give a 10% haircut on the job so they can get the job. But that's it. They're like, hey, Mr. Builder, I'll do it for 10% less so I can get the work. And then the next guy comes in and does it for 10% less. And then the next guy, and then the next guy, and it's a race to the bottom, right? And the fundamental mistake is that they don't understand what the 10% discount, how that's actually supposed to be used, right? It's technically like a loss leader concept from like the supermarket world. You put the milk on sale for $2 a gallon so that you have to walk all the way to the back of the store. And on average, we know you're going to buy 6 to 8 other items on your way to the back and back to the cash register. You're going to pick up 6 or 8 other items.
And you're going to purchase buy those trash bags that are overly priced than what you'd get normally. And now that's where they make their money.
Right. They make their money on the other items you buy, not on that milk that's on sale. But in the insulation world, the guy gives a 10% discount, and it should be structured as, hey, look, I understand we haven't done business together before. So I want to let you get a taste. I want you to like see how good we are, how fast we are, the cleanliness of our jobs afterward, and that we take pride in what we do and we can execute. So on this project, I will give you a 10% discount. I still have to make money, but I will give you a 10% discount so you can try us out. And when we wow you, our price is going to be our price. Like our price going forward has to be our project price. But for this one, I'll give you a little bit of a discount so that you can see how good we are. And then you have to back it up.
That's more of a, I guess, would be a great play for when you're working with builders. Doesn't work as well for Sally homeowner, because the chances of getting another project from Sally homeowner isn't going to be there unless they're like, hey, we're going to be building this other property here next year.
No, and with homeowners, you're talking about other things, right? Like they may think price is the most important thing, but it's because they don't know any different.
Yeah.
And so their gut reaction with pretty much any project around the house is, I'll get 3 estimates and I'll take the lowest bid. And it's only because they don't know the difference. And because they don't know the difference between the 3 bids, now the homeowner gets to treat all of them as a commodity. So your job as a contractor is to create that value perception, create that differentiation between you and your competitors, provide some level of service that they care about, some level of knowledge that they care about. Position yourself different so you're not seen as just an insulation contractor or just a spray foam guy. Some of my clients, their sales reps are not sales reps. Their sales reps are building envelope auditors. And they go out and they are a professional doing an evaluation of the home. And part of that evaluation is, Mr. Builder, like, what are the items that you've experienced? And they have their question list that they go down to understand what the owner of the building is thinking, what they're experiencing, why they even called for an insulation quote to begin with. Like, what do they want to achieve? What are they trying to achieve by doing this? And then you take that information, and as you're collecting information about the property to be able to put together an estimate, you're able to actually use the answers to those questions to sell them using their own words. And so you restructure what they told you to actually explain, to give them the feedback of, we, based on what you said, you want this, and this, and it's going to give you these benefits, and this is what you're expecting, and we can do that. And we can design a specific plan for your building envelope to achieve these aspects, and we're going to do it in this way. Nowhere in there did I say spray foam insulation. Yeah. That's the very end of the pitch. It's the very end of the presentation. It's not what the homeowner cares about. They don't care about your magic spray foam 3000. They care about the results. They care about the benefits that they're going to get. And you have to structure your language so that you're talking more about the benefits that they get and less about the science and the product and the technology, and you have the greatest foam and you're the greatest spray foam company. Guess what, guys? Everybody's saying that. You sound just like everybody else. Nobody is coming in the door saying, Mr. Homeowner, I'm the 5th best spray foam contractor in this area, and I use the 6th best product on the market because I get the best price when I buy that product. Yeah. That's not a pitch that anybody's using to any homeowner. Everybody has the best and everybody is the best. If you use that language, you look like and sound like everybody else. And if you look like and sound like everybody else, they can only compare one thing that differentiates you, and that's price.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've ever heard that sell the sizzle, not the steak.
Yeah, of course.
And that's exactly what you're doing. Like I think most homeowners that are looking at the benefits of insulation, they're looking for a lower heating bill or lower cooling bill. They're looking for maybe soundproofing. They're all these other benefits of that there is for spray foam, and it's not necessarily hey, I'm the best guy and I use the best foam. Like, there's just, like you said, everybody's using that same pitch.
Yeah, they don't care if you're the best. They don't care if you're using the best foam. They don't know the difference between foam A, foam B, and foam C. When you say, I'm going to do it right the first time, that's their expectation. Their expectation is that whoever they hire is going to do a good job, or they're going to fix it. Like, none of these are differentiations. These are expected level of quality to actually get a job. Yes, I expect that you're going to be competent. Yes, I expect that you are going to be using a good product. Yes, I expect that you're good at what you do. Yes, I expect that you're not going to screw things up. Like, these are expectations, not selling features. These aren't differentiation components. Everybody is either saying these things or has a general, even if they don't say them, the buyer expects them to provide these things. Otherwise, they're going to complain, and they're not going to pay, and there's going to be callbacks, and there's going to be other problems that come from that.
Exactly. Robert, speaking of that, I'm kind of curious, you're talking about foam. People use foam as a differentiator. And it's my understanding that there was like 37 foam manufacturers in Daytona. And from an outsider, there's more than that.
More.
Okay. So there was, I'll just say, a ton of spray foam manufacturers in Daytona. And from an outsider, somebody, when I say an outsider, meaning not super educated, is there a way for people? I mean, is it really just the foam is different because of whatever the chemical is? It's like if you're talking about a seasoning salt, when you go down the spice aisle at the grocery store and you're like, why should I get Lowry's versus Johnny's? What's the difference? Is that kind of the same situation with foam?
You're not far off. Like, it's a different formulation is what it comes down to. It's different chemistry. Now, there will be some fundamental differences from like foam A to foam B to foam C. But all of those differences are felt and experienced by the applicator, right? And so, sure, there will be some minor R value differences on a per inch basis, but in the end user, they don't feel that because the installer will put in a total R value. So one installer might put in a little bit more thickness than another installer. And so if they're using different products.
Yeah.
So the user doesn't feel that. The effects that the installer is going to feel comes down to a couple of different parameters. It comes down to ease of use. So ease of application. Is it an easy product to work with? Mm-hmm. How difficult, on a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult is this product to work with? How difficult is it to maximize yield? What is the maximum yield of this product? I buy this material in drums in liquid form. My job is to convert it into board feet or cubic feet of material. Is there a comparison of yield amongst these products, right? Yeah. What are the building code requirements with product A versus B versus C? There are some differences in building code requirements. Does the manufacturer I work with, do they offer both open cell and closed cell foam, or do I need to buy from different brands? Mm-hmm. So you said 36, 37. I think there's that number of somewhere in that range of SPFA members that offer spray foam products. I was told that there were going to be around 44 to 45 different brands of foam at the show. Mm-hmm. And then I heard, didn't confirm it myself, but I heard on site that there were over 50 different brands of foam on site. And so it's an important question for contractors. Like, how do you decide what product you're going to work with? What differentiates them? You
Yeah.
know, like you have to decide, what are your buying criteria? What are the most important things to you? I can almost guarantee, as a spray foam contractor, you think the most important thing is price. It is almost for sure not price, unless you are the best of the best and you don't need any help of any kind from anybody. There may be a small percentage of guys out there that meet that bill, that actually don't need support and help from the manufacturers. But if you need a lot of technical assistance, then and you need to keep your rigs running, then you probably should be willing to pay a slightly higher price. If you don't have a warehouse facility, then you probably don't want to, and you don't buy 40 trucks or 40 sets a month or 20 sets a month, whatever a half truck is these days. You probably need to look for a distributor to do business with, where you can pick up material in 4 sets, 5 sets at a time. So you have to figure out, like, what are the most important things for your business model, and that's how you make a buying decision based on who you want to partner with. At least in my opinion. This is what I teach contractors.
And then when we start looking at the service piece of it, and you're like, depending on how much service you need, is it fair to say I've seen within here recently a lot of spray foam contractors that are extremely, we'll just say veterans, deciding that it's time to hang up the spray foam gun and go work for a manufacturer as a foam rep.
Sure.
And is it safe to say that if you're good at spraying one foam, that you'd be good at spraying another foam if you're a good spray foam contractor?
In a generalization, I would say yes. If you are actually thinking through the process of what spraying foam is. There are guys that are good at laying it down and spraying foam and tinkering with the heat, the settings for a specific product, for a specific brand. But they don't know why they're doing it. They're only doing it because it's what they've been taught to do. It's what they've been shown. It's what they've been told to do. And they've done enough repetition at doing this thing, tinkering this way with this specific product, that they can make that product work. But if you just blindly sent them out with a different material and they don't know why they're doing what they're doing, they may struggle adapting to a different product, or it's going to take them longer to figure out how to work with a different material or how to optimize a different material.
Yeah. So it's not as simple as, you were a Super Bowl champion quarterback with New England Patriots, and now you're with Tampa and you can take them to the Super Bowl. It's like, no, I got to figure out what this team is like and kind of go through the product, the spray foam, and see how it acts. And then I can become an expert. So with that being said, and I'm a new contractor and I'm looking at these foam companies and I know I need help. How do I determine, do you think that there's a real large difference in customer service across the board? Is that what I'm looking for? Is the person that is my sales rep, do they have the help for me to share education with me, to maybe even come to a job site and help me spray the foam as I am learning about this new foam, because I used to spray some other company's foam and now I need to learn about this other product?
Sure. Yeah. And that can even be regional. If you get down to the granular level of the sales rep for a specific brand, not all sales reps are the same, and they're not all going to have the same knowledge. And so, one guy may be really good at helping a contractor through building code challenges and working with architects and code officials. And another guy, his background may be spraying foam. And even though he's a sales rep, so he's going to be really good at helping with technical spraying issues and on jobs with their crews, but he may not have the support to be able to help with other problems. And so a lot of it comes down to, I think, what are your needs as a business? What do you need support with, whether it's from a distributor or a manufacturer? And then do they have the right personnel or services available to provide that level of support? And you have to decide, how that blends together, how that merges together for yourself.
Yeah, because from an outsider, it's extremely overwhelming when I hear those numbers. I'm like, how does one even determine on, if I was within the industry for 6 months and I go to an SPFA show and I'm walking around the expo, I'm like, oh my God, all these guys, it's the sharks looking like feeding frenzy. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Is this the company? Why should I trust UPC over Ambien or Genec? Or one's green, one's this, one's that, one's purple. I don't know.
I think a lot of it is going to come down to having your own internal system, having your own internal evaluation process for what's most important. What are the criteria that we need to judge a new vendor by, and how do we evaluate vendor to vendor? Because if you base it solely on price, that's one strategy. I just don't think it's the most effective strategy. And a lot of guys are doing that. A lot of companies think that that the manufacturers are getting rich off of the backs of the spray foam contractors. And look, they're making money. They have to make money. Otherwise they wouldn't be in business. But when price increases happen, they typically happen because their raw material price increases went up. I know this because I was at a manufacturer for more than 10 years. So I know what happened when our price increases went out. It was typically because we had our own price pressures on the product that we sell.
Were you there at the manufacturer at the beginning of COVID?
I was not. No.
Yeah, because I know that was one of the big times that the industry was really hit with increases, and it really made people panic.
For sure. Yeah.
Regulation around the spray foam industry. I know this is kind of a controversial topic. I know you have a take on this, but I've kind of asked this across the board with a lot of the spray foam contractors that we've had on the show to see kind of where people are standing. You and I briefly chatted about, regulation through some form of, a governing body, because as I've seen across the board in other blue collar trades, like your plumbing, your HVAC, there is a barrier of entry when we're talking about going and, becoming a tradesperson. Example that I always share, which I think is kind of crazy, and I know that you probably have a lot better insight on this than me, but I'm some guy that has no clue about how to spray foam. And if I had 60 to 100K in my pocket, I could go buy a rig and I could have a company today. I could be a spray foam contractor. And I could go into people's homes and I could bid them and I could spray this stuff and ruin people's homes and just not be doing good business because there's not that barrier of entry or the friction. So I'd love to hear your take on what your opinion is. Does the spray foam industry need some form of regulation before, the suit in Washington, D.C. gets involved? It's going to tell the guys like, hey, this is how this is going to happen. And you're like, Mr. Suit, you've never sprayed foam before, and you're going to make decisions about our industry, and you don't even understand the product. So what's your take, Robert? Is that something that starts at the SPFA level, to where it becomes like this badge or this seal that your homeowner's looking for in order to trust the contractor, or how do we go about this?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's another topic that comes up constantly in the industry. I am very cautious about, the terminology regulation and legislation and things like this. I would rather that we don't add costs to what we do through, because of government oversight and government interaction and government involvement. And the history in the industry, for those of you out there that don't know this, this is the reason that SPFA created the professional certification program. So I want to say it was around 2011, 2013 timeframe. EPA and or OSHA basically came to the industry and said, hey, we're concerned that there's some stuff going on over there and you probably should do something about it. Otherwise, you're not going to like what comes down. Mm-hmm. And so the professional certification program was born out of that. And so I have been in rooms now where, 10 years ago, you took a poll and you said, hey, who of the spray foam contractors in the room, who thinks we should have regulation, licensing, certification? And maybe 20% of the hands would go up.
Okay. And
now that's flipped. The people in the industry that are in the industry now, I'm seeing 70, 80% of the hands going up, where they think there should be some level of requirement, right? Mm-hmm. And then the question comes down to implementation. How is that actually going to work, right? Yeah. What SPFA has created in the PCP program is a voluntary program that allows you as a spray foam contractor to provide, to get a certification that documents that you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to execute the trade that you are involved in. If you, as a spray foam contractor, think that the answer for the industry is certification and some level of restriction, every one of you should be lining up to go get this certification. We should have thousands of certified contractors through SPFA, because right now, there's not thousands. Right now, I literally have clients that use this as a differentiator, what I talked about before. Mm-hmm. They use this in their marketing and in their sales process. And they go to their customers and say, hey, Mr. Builder, I am the only SPFA PCP certified contractor within 200 miles of you. This means that I've taken tests, I've documented my knowledge, skills, and abilities. Our team has done this much work. We've documented it, we've proven it, we've registered with our trade association that we've done this work and we've passed their tests. So we are certified through the trade organization. And they use it as a differentiator and selling tool in their local markets. One potential future is that if we get to enough certified contractors across the country, that maybe there's some level of requirement to be certified through SPFA. That seems like a realistic thing. Mm-hmm. 20 years ago, it wasn't even a hope. That wasn't even a conversation that was being had. Yeah. And I know that a lot of the conversations around this topic, they come from a place of concern for the industry. Mm-hmm. And I think it's well warranted. We should be concerned about what people are doing out there in the industry. But the number of problems in scale to the total work being done are still very, very small, if you were to look at it from a percentage standpoint. And so,
what do you think that percentage is?
I wouldn't even know where to begin to try to guess. Okay. But if I had to, I would venture to guess sub 1%.
Wow.
Because I have cases that come up, but I'm not doing this full time every day. And there are thousands of companies spraying full time every day in multiple locations. And there's not thousands of me in the industry. Yeah. There's maybe 5 or 10 guys like me that are immediately in our industry. And then there's maybe another, 10 or 20 guys in the indoor air quality industry that get pulled into some of these problem resolution situations. So there's maybe 50 people across the U.S. or 50 companies across the U.S. that get involved in some of these problem resolution situations or problem investigation scenarios. That's not a lot compared to the thousands of contractors that are out there and the 10,000 plus spray foam rigs that are out there. And I think the risk is felt really hard because the magnitude of the problem when a problem is created is really big.
Yeah.
You might do a $20,000 job, and if you don't do it right, it's going to cost $100,000 to fix it. Like, that's a real scenario, right?
Yeah.
But even with certification, even if it got to the point of legislation and regulation, which I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope it doesn't come to government oversight and Big Brother stepping on us and saying you have to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
But even if something is enforced in some capacity, there are always going to be cowboys. There are always going to be people that don't follow the rules, that don't think the rules apply to them. It happens in every part of the construction industry, whether you're talking about electricians or you're talking about HVAC contractors. There are always bad apples. And just saying, let's put regulation and legislation in place doesn't make the bad apples go away.
Yeah. And then I think you and I we talked about how, like, if there is regulation put into place, then who becomes the regulator? Is that the manufacturer? Because the manufacturer is like, well, I don't know anything about their not being licensed, but we're going to sell them foam. Right. So now they're selling foam because at the end of the day, they need to sell foam no matter if you're licensed or not.
Yeah. One of the adages that I use is that incentive drives action. And so at the manufacturer level, they have no incentive to change. They're just going to sell as much material as possible to contractors. SPFA doesn't have the authority or the oversight to enforce anything upon anyone. All they can do is provide resources and create documentation and provide value is what we try to do. There's no one source right now that has the ability to say, I deem it now, you must all be certified. Like, it's not going to happen that way. It's not going to happen like that. If the most likely scenario with the resources and capabilities that we have right now in the industry is if contractors themselves decide, hey, we need to be certified. Everybody should be certified. I'm going to take it upon myself to be a certified contractor. And all of a sudden we get to 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 certified contractors. Now, why would you work with anyone that wasn't certified? Yeah. When you have your choice of 3 certified contractors and one that's not, as a builder or a homeowner, why would you work with anybody that's not certified?
So it's almost like we need more people to become PCP certified and then use that in their marketing to have the guys that aren't PCP certified be getting outbid or, not winning the jobs in order to force the industry to go, gosh, I should go get certified.
Right. Well, and, SPFA is already doing work on putting the PCP certification requirements into their specifications. Like, we've already done that. So when SPFA does work with architects, for example, the specifications that SPFA provides to architects has PCP certification as a requirement for the contractor as part of the specification. So there is a future world where all specifications across the industry have a PCP certification requirement at the architect and builder level. It's not going to change anything for, just going and doing a residential job for the homeowner. But at the professional construction level, at the commercial, light commercial, designed builds for large home builders, it could get to a point where certification is a requirement to get those jobs. You have to document, certain contractor qualifications And that is I'm already seeing that in specifications that are out in the marketplace. And so, but with that said, in markets that don't have certified contractors, that creates a problem for those projects and or architects and or builders. And so then it becomes another conversation. Now, what happens in that scenario is either somebody has to come from a different area and the price of that work goes up, or somebody comes in and they have to get a variance from the architect that says, hey, there's nobody in this area with this qualification. We have to use somebody else. And so taking that step and leading the charge and saying, I'm committed to the future of this industry, and I'm going to use right now is the best opportunity to use the certification program as a marketing tool for your business, because there's not a lot of them out there. There's less than 1,000 of them across the country right now. Now is the time to differentiate yourself in your local market by being a PCP certified contractor.
Yeah. So speaking of that, do you know if the SPFA has a separate page on their website that has a list of the PCP certified guys?
I don't know 100%, what that looks like on their website.
I think that'd be extremely beneficial. I know you're on the board, but is because I from a marketing standpoint, I would love to be able to push that for clients that are PCP certified, and also even link to the SPFA site, because that just validates. If a person comes to their site, they're, a homeowner is doing research, or a builder, like, hey, should I use this spray foam company? Oh my gosh, they got the badge. Oh, let me click. What is this about? Oh, wow. I can see that they passed all this certification, and it's going to help really build some confidence in that purchasing side of things.
I mean, it establishes credibility. It builds confidence in the buying decision, and it makes the contractor look more professional than others that don't have this level of verification. And keep in mind, like, a lot of people misunderstand what the PCP program is. It is not a training program. You don't have to go to a training class. You don't have to fly to the convention and go sit in a training seminar to become PCP certified. PCP certification is a verification of your knowledge, skills, and abilities based on taking a test and filling out an application that documents how much experience you have.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And so the test is critical because the questions in the test are used to document, do you know what you're doing? It doesn't mean you won't make mistakes. Just because you're certified, or just because if some future legislation comes into play, you can still make mistakes out there. The guys who are certified, they still have a risk of making mistakes. Having a license or having regulation, it's not going to eliminate mistakes. What it is it provides some level of extra qualification or extra verification that you know what you're doing.
Yeah. And then if it does become standardized, then it's somewhat of a barrier of entry.
I mean, I don't even think it's that big. If it becomes standardized, even if there's legislation or restriction or regulation, I don't even think it's that big of a barrier of entry. If you can find somebody to sell you material, it's not that big of a barrier of entry. Like people do, unlicensed guys do electric work all the time. Unlicensed HVAC contractors do HVAC work all the time. There's some municipalities across the country that have no requirements of any kind for any building. They do no inspections. They have no requirements for licensed contractors. That I get it. It's not a perfect world.
It's essentially the same concept of making drugs illegal and thinking that drugs are going to go away.
Right. Right.
Which we all know that's not the case. So I'm curious, not to get political, but the tariffs that are being imposed. I know there's a lot of foam manufacturers that are overseas, especially in China. Do you think this is going to disrupt the market?
I mean, it's going to have an impact on material pricing for sure, if it hasn't already. I think in many cases it already has had an impact on material prices.
I've seen some suppliers trying to guess, essentially guess prior to the tariffs actually going into place. So
right, some of the challenges are like ISO in and of itself. How is that going to be affected? Other challenges are, it comes down to the raw materials. It's not just the manufacturers that are located overseas, but it's the raw materials, the suppliers to the manufacturers that are located in the U.S. You might be buying from a company in, Texas or Louisiana or up in the Northeast. They're going to be impacted by the tariffs because they bring in raw materials from out of the country. Mm-hmm. And so that's going to be part of the total package.
Yeah. So then the trickle down is essentially increased pricing for the spray foam contractor that's going to have to pass that on to the consumer.
Yeah.
And now their prices have increased. So a house that you maybe were able to do for $10,000 is going to now be 15 or 20 or whatever the case is.
I don't think it's that drastic from what I'm seeing. In general, the material is not it's a big portion of the cost of the structure or the cost of your estimate. But if you're bidding your projects right, it's not the majority of your bid. And if you have a 5% or 7% or 10% increase in part of the projects that, in the material, and the material is, 25 to 40% of your bid, your bid's not going to go up 50%. Mm-hmm. Right. So it gets, I think once again, it's a topic that gets emotionally charged because in many cases, the technician minded business owner doesn't know his exact job costs. So he doesn't know when I get a 10-cent increase per pound on my material, what effect does this have on the back end? And all he sees is, I can't believe the manufacturer's increasing prices again. Yeah. And, and it becomes an emotional reaction more than it is a real business reaction.
Makes sense. Robert, let's wrap up the show here. You and I could chat forever. You're such a great source of education, and I can tell an overall amazing human. If I'm a contractor and I just love what I've heard from you, and I would love to use your service as a business coach and be part of your mastermind. How do I get in touch with you? What's the best way for me to get in touch?
Best way is email Robert at sprayfoamadvisor.com, and that's ADVISOR, no S at the end of it. So ADVISOR.com.
Because he's only one advisor. There's not a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. And so email is the best way to get in touch with me. You can check out my website, sprayfoamadvisor.com. I'm on Spray Foam Worldwide. I'm on the Facebook pages. So if you want to friend me on there, by all means, hit me up there. I'd love to chat and connect with people out there in the industry. I have a passion for learning and teaching. It's just who I am as a person. So sometimes I give away too much of my time for free when I shouldn't be. But it's
4 hours for nothing.
Yeah. My business will someday my business will get to a point where I can't take on more clients for the fee structures that I have right now. Yeah. And that just means that my prices are going to go up. And so, if you need an expert in your back pocket, if you want to have access to 20 plus years of experience in the industry across all aspects of your business, someone that can help you identify the weak spots in your business and how to strengthen them, how to create systems and processes so you and your employees are not just making decisions willy-nilly, flying by the seat of your pants. That's what I do. And then I pair that with my spray foam contractor discussion group. That is other spray foam contractors like you that get to talk shop with each other every single month. and I'm on that call to host it. But the best interactions are when, my guy in Pennsylvania is talking to my guy in Illinois, and they just vibe on a specific situation that they're both experiencing, or that one of them has a solution for the other one. And I can provide my input, but they can most of the time, have those conversations themselves and provide solutions. We're basically an informal board of directors for your company to help you get to wherever you're trying to go.
I love that. And as well as having a source of, information where you can go to where it's trusted versus just going to a Facebook group and posting and getting whatever you get back. Right. So,
yeah.
Robert, I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure. And I would love to have you on here in the future. If you guys are ever out there at the SPFA show, please take a chance to get to know Robert or listen to him speak. I know you guys just recently, I think it was Tom and you had done this a speaking session there at Daytona that you guys were really pushing out as well. So make sure you check out Robert online, follow Robert, and make sure you check out the sprayfoamadvisor.com. It's a great place for you to, if I was a spray foam contractor, I know I'd be making that investment myself. So, thanks, Robert, for coming on.
Yeah, no, Spencer, thank you very much. That seminar that Tom and I put on was an all-day business seminar, and I'm actually in the works right now to try to set up multiple offerings of that in different locations across the country. And so that's something that I'm trying to set up right now, being able to take this business seminar concept out on the road and allow more contractors to get access to this knowledge and information.
That's perfect. I appreciate it, Robert. Have a great rest of your evening, and I'll chat with you soon.
Thanks, Spencer. Take care, bud.